The man at work knows records. The greatest mind work extension will land. Casually remarked that his coffee was still too hot to sip. Everyone should now have had enough time to get ready for his big reveal. Shaka informed him there were 30 seconds left before the broadcast went live. Pythagoras, on the other hand, was starting to panic a little. The idea that the entire world would soon be watching made him uneasy. Though honestly, the world already got fumbled with coffee for the past few minutes. Mars left us with before. Something seemed to endure beyond big death. This is the real essence. And then it appeared in full. Punk reared sight on resembling the crown of Vegapunk's very own head. Mars wondered what the concept of death would even mean for an existence like this. Does consciousness part of it too? Without a doubt, this had to be one of the most unbelievable fruit powers ever seen. Through the transponder snail, his voice reached Pythagoras, confirming that their recording would eventually reach the world, just as it's doing now. Over Denden Mushi, Vegapunk confessed that although he was proud of their creation, the truth he was about to reveal weighed heavily on him. St. Mars then raised his boot above the tiny tail, who were born from been explaining the just before leaves. Vegapunk was also in medicine, something she must have learned while struggling with illness and the Ultra Marine Corps were also getting ready for across the seas at Broken on then Vegapunk birthplace. The scientist really came there. His grandfather confirmed Vegapunk's greatest achievement. The kid nervous mentioned that Vegapunk might have been the cause of Baldur's fame. That Frankie he's song like it was self-disted. Timer also recalled here Frankie led him to it. So yes, couldn't remember me. Next, camera to Kim. Another aim on Vegapunk circle by being spawned from the van was as the ceilings. Vegapunk's voice echoed across the world, holding everyone's attention. Back on Egghead Island, just before Mars could crush the snail under his boot, its outer shell cracked, and the truth was revealed. It wasn't hiding anyone. It was just a decoy snail. The broadcast was safe. Furious, St. Mars tore himself away from Punk Records, transforming into his massive Itza-made form while swearing Vegapunk's name in anger. Then Vegapunk's message began in earnest. He greeted the audience, began the whole in. It was finally time to begin.
Bro, you still paying to watch this stuff? Lazy ideas watching all now. Download our Joy Music anywhere. No, now.
You see, I'm not a queen or a monster.
Alarm tribe, people leaned in curiously. Elsewhere, Muldesk was only for the man that he should what he was doing since the broadcast hadn't been stopped yet. Embarrassed, he perfectly the doubted his brains law with said he had no idea how much to acting, but he reminded them of what York had said, that Stella intended to carry forward the legacy of O'Hara's scholars. The room fell silent as the elders realized the gravity of that statement. This wouldn't be a repeat of Professor Clover's final speech. This would be the continuation. Vegapunk was about to finish what O'Hara had begun. Meanwhile, the real Vegapunk's unconscious body was still slung over Sanji's shoulder. Sprinting through the burning ridge, Sanji heard the doctor could hear desperate cries of a nearby, and instantly, at risk, Sanji noticed one of the elders. The elder declared that they wouldn't allow Bonnie to wield their power. Frankie jumped forward to shield her, shouting for Bonnie to stay back. But before he could strike, Sanji soared in, ready to take the stage himself. Using the elder's black blade as leverage, he kicked the beast square in the jaw, drawing blood. Sanji really was on fire, literally and figuratively. Sanji didn't care if the guy he was fighting was ancient or divine. This was still a battle between pirates, and he was ready to throw hands. But before he could say another word, the elder's skull suddenly burst into flames. His arms stretched out like he was T-posing, and from his body, the fiery skeletal head of a massive horse emerged, chomping down on Sanji until bones audibly cracked. This was one of the strangest uses of a Zoan-type ability we've ever seen, more like a deliberate mutation, something reminiscent of the artificial smile user's malfunctions. Thankfully, Mr. Four managed to toss Stella's body out of harm's way just in time. Bonnie screamed Sanji's name in fear, terrified that he'd been fatally wounded. Just then, a nearby giant noticed the chaos and began lumbering toward them. Over the airwaves, Vegapunk's voice continued to echo through the world as he confessed to having committed two great sins. Oimo and Kashi lunged forward, restraining Nujuro long enough for Sanji to break free. Atlas quickly swooped in to catch her creator before he could fall. Meanwhile, Bonnie called forth the distorted power of her future Deltarune ability. Several Marines looked on in shock as she leapt skyward, her body swelling to titanic proportions. Wielding the might of a giant's future, she prepared to crush the beneath her heel. Vegapunk grew heavier as he told everyone that he expected to be killed soon for what he'd done. The message they were all hearing, he explained, had been pre-programmed to broadcast the instant his heart stopped beating. Across Sabati, the crowd cried out in disbelief, realizing that this could only mean the brilliant scientist was already gone. Duval, Sanji's infamous lookalike, was dumbfounded. Only that morning, the papers claimed Vegapunk was being held captive by the Straw Hats. Even Vegapunk's rivals were shaken. Caesar clenched his fists, tears forming as he refused to believe Stella was dead, especially after he and Judge had just joined forces to surpass him. It felt almost like Endeavor trying to live up to All Might's legacy. Meanwhile, Morgan wasn't thrilled either. The worldwide Denden Mushi broadcast threatened his grip on breaking the news first, something his newspaper empire thrived on. Before continuing, Stella wanted to make one thing crystal clear. He begged everyone not to see his killers as villains, no matter who they might appear to be. He wasn't here to argue about good or evil. His goal wasn't moral judgment. It was revelation. At the same time, on the Labo Stratum, the Straw Hats were dealing with the sudden arrival of Saint Saturn himself. His voice dripped with venom whenever he spoke the doctor's name. Vegapunk humbly admitted he was in no position to judge anyone, that he lacked the authority and even the understanding to do so. Depending on how people interpreted it, his words could easily be taken as criticism of either the world government or the Straw Hats. When he said him, it might even have been a veiled reference to Imu, or in another light, Luffy, depending on where the story leads. But for Saturn, the implication alone was enough to set him off in fury. Since Vegapunk's message avoided moral stances entirely, things like the empty throne or symbolic justice might not even apply here, meaning all our assumptions could change drastically. Saturn, clearly enraged, lunged forward. He ordered the Straw Hats to stand aside, claiming he didn't have time to deal with insignificant pests. But Robin froze as soon as she heard her voice. It was the same voice she'd heard years ago at Ohara. Recognizing her instantly, Saturn sneered that she was the child the foolish Sakazuki failed with. The realization hit her. She faced with one feathers. Enthused by his words, quickly realized what was happening just as one spider-like whipped toward them.
It's me, part. Oh, now, this windows for people key.
I don't want to my
I can't afford to die.
The crew sprang to action and monsters on good mid. I love these being kicked out who are older to gods. It's what makes me still, and the way me wheels suit is the highlight of the entire chapter. But the real bombshell was still to come. Vegapunk warned that what he was about to reveal the world, something so unbelievable that many would call him insane. Marking the fear and rage, his Itsumade form couldn't detect any clear telepathic signals. There were simply too many life forms on the island to isolate one, a small hint into how his species' sensory abilities work. Meanwhile, York was frantically searching for where the might have been. She feared that if the feed kept running, her dream of becoming a celestial dragon would crumble. Interestingly, York continued narrating, introducing the central figure of this forgotten story. Luffy clenched his burning fist again, ready to attack the massive boar-like monster before him, confident that this next blow would work. Vega long ago, 100 years in the past, there was a man born in a magnificent technologically advanced kingdom. This man, like the legendary sun god Nika from the Tales of Elbaf, had a body that could stretch and bend in impossible ways. His name was Joy Boy. Luffy's punch landed, his hands seared by the heat, and his giant allies burst into laughter despite the danger surrounding them. That laughter, that joy in the face of battle, was the very essence of what Nika's power symbolized. And perhaps through these battles, Luffy was slowly learning how to adapt to the Elder's strength. Looking up toward the heavens, Vegapunk's voice grew wistful. He revealed that Joy Boy wasn't just a hero. He was the first man ever to set sail, the original adventurer of the seas, the very first pirate.